Let's go to the phones. David, welcome.
Yes. I have a son. He is 14 years old. Recently he had some issues at school, and he had been diagnosed with ADHD and on some medication for it. And I was just curious what your opinion was about him seeing a psychologist.
Dr. Rose?
Well, we would love for him to come in and see us, especially at the age of 14. He's certainly old enough to be able to have an intelligent conversation about changing his behavior just by changing his thinking. With cognitive behavior, of course, we think that any action does not happen without a thoughtful process behind that. And so when we change our thinking and we change our way of action, then we can change our behavior. So sometimes when we get to 14, especially if we've been taking medication or we've been told that we were ADHD since the age of 3 or 4, then that tends to become an excuse. Well, I'm ADHD, or, well, I just can't control my anger. I've heard that from many adolescents, to which I say, nope, that's not an excuse. We're going to learn how to control that with our thoughts. And they do respond very well to that.
And I had a question.
Go ahead.
The psychologist or the psychiatrist that I guess diagnosed him with the ADHD, and wondering how their qualifications on diagnosing that, especially with just talking with him once or twice.
Well, hopefully they just didn't talk with him. Hopefully they had some teachers fill out some forms, and you filled out some forms, and they got an overall impression of him from different walks of life. But at this point, if he was diagnosed, how young was he diagnosed?
I believe he was about 7.
Okay, I agree with Dr. Devitt. It's probably time to have him back in for some further assessment. It could have grown into a different diagnosis, because ADHD is very comorbid or associated with generalized anxiety disorder and some other diagnosis or disorders that cause that lack of concentration. So you might want to bring him back in for further testing to see if it continues to be ADHD or it has grown into something else.
Okay.
We hear a lot about PTSD, and some of our programs on Sunday night have been about PTSD as it relates to the military. But PTSD can happen to children. It can happen to adults, right?
Well, certainly.
Dr. Rose?
I've had several students within the school setting. When I was a school counselor, the most horrific story I have is the child ended up in an emotionally behavior disorder class, but her actual diagnosis was post-traumatic stress syndrome because she had witnessed mother shoot grandma. And so any instance within our life that is traumatic will carry...
How about car accidents?
If it's traumatic enough,
Sure.
Or if we've lost a loved one due to a car accident, this is not one of my patients, but one that I know of, where a grandmother ran over the 2-year-old. The 2-year-old got out behind the car, and she ran over it. And of course, the grandmother struggled and had therapy of her own, but the 3 siblings that were in the car, of course, suffered post-traumatic stress syndrome because that was their little brother. And so, that's a family systems issue, but that's one that would fall under post-traumatic stress.
We have a few minutes left. Dr. Rose, how about talking to me a little bit about violence in the schools? I know this is an area you've thought about and talked about.
Well, with school counselors, the criteria or the big responsibility of the school counselor is to get out there and address the issue instead of burying it under the rug. We talked earlier about addressing bullying. So much of the time we think if we just don't talk about it, it won't happen. And that's not the case. Or, bullying's been going on forever. It's just a problem. And every kid has dealt with it. It's no big deal. And it is a big deal. And we need to address it and get get out there and give the kids some tools to overcome the violence. And as we talked about with bullying, you can try to befriend the bully, you can ignore the bully. There are many different things that you can do. But with violence, we need to make this children or students aware that it is not tattling to tell if...
And that's the big key.
If you know of information, because in a lot of the shootings, if somebody had spoken up, it would have stopped the violence.
Well, I want to thank you for coming tonight. Dr. Devitt, we're going to cheer the Cards on tomorrow.
Yes, we shall.
Villanova. Go Cards.
It's been a pleasure.
Hey, I want to thank both of you for being with me tonight and with my Sunday night family. Really appreciate it. I want to thank Tom Mitchell, who operates our board. Good guy. Tony Safina, Ace Media researcher, and Dr. Rose is getting our website up to snuff, and soon all those good websites of Tony's will be on there. And appreciate you doing that, Dr. Rose, for our Frager.com website. And Debbie Ramsey, our executive producer from WGTK. I'm Dr. Stan Frager. And until next Sunday night, take care.
Kentuckiana's leader for intelligent conservative talk. Count on 970 WGTK Louisville. And listen live anywhere on 970WGTK.com.